Hey guys, Nick here. I'm going to go ahead and just state the obvious. This is a marketing tool for my real estate business. I've been a realtor for 20 years right here in Nashville, but who wants to listen to a boring podcast about real estate? Good news, it's not. This is a podcast about people that I've built relationships with since I moved here in 1988. If what I stand for resonates with you and you're looking to buy or sell a home in this area, let's talk. No pressure, just a conversation, kind of like this podcast.
This is the 615 Podcast with your host, veteran realtor and entrepreneur, Nick Woodard.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the 615 Podcast. Hope y'all had a great Christmas season. I am definitely ready to get back in the swing of things and get back on a regular schedule. So today's guest is known around here in Middle Tennessee for developing high school athletes. He works with kids from Nolensville, Page, Centennial, Brentwood Academy. I'll let him explain, all the different schools that he works with. But many of the guys he's worked with have earned all region honors this year. And I have to think that you played a role in their success, man. So welcome to the show, Mr. Bryce Biel.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, brother.
Absolutely. I think it's funny how all this works when it comes down to it. Like, I listen to everything, like the big ones, small ones, because it's just so simple to do nowadays.
Yeah, man.
So once I saw it, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to start tuning in and listening and see if I can figure anything out and learn. So yeah, that's where it all started.
I love it, man. I love just having this platform for local guys such as yourself to, tell your story and let people get to know you a little bit and, see what kind of value you can provide them. And I know you've worked with, my son, a lot of my son's friends, players. You've done a really good job of kind of becoming the guy around here that develops players. So just kind of want to let you tell your story. And so once you talk a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and kind of what got you into what do you exactly call it?
Strength conditioning coach, essentially. Okay. But I'm originally from Geneva, Illinois, so suburb of Chicago. Obviously lived my whole life there. And, I'd say to fast forward and fast track everything, I was never the genetically gifted freak.
Okay.
Just wasn't.
Nor was I.
And it's okay. I'm okay with it. But that's kind of where everything kind of started. I tore my meniscus in 7th grade, and someone got me into lifting for physical therapy. And that's when the passion for lifting started for me. And I just kind of really fell in tune with that world. And it, I saw how much it helped me. And then obviously fast forward, I played college football until, I don't know how many knee surgeries at this point, probably 7 or 9, and wanted to go into coaching for football. I worked he's the current OC at Iowa, Tim Lester, for a year. And then I went to, got into training. And at that point, I thought I wanted to go to college and coach, to be honest.
Yeah.
And, I don't mind saying it. I hate that world. And the only reason I say I hate that world is because you might see a little bit of a return in the sense of like working with kids or like, at that point, genetic freaks.
Right.
If you're in Division I, you are somewhat of a freak. And I didn't enjoy it. I spent, I think, a little less than a year at Northwestern, and, I loved my experience and what I learned, but it was not what I was truly looking for and what I was actually passionate about. So I, worked for other people, and I just decided one day I was going to start my own thing in Illinois. And that was probably the greatest decision I've ever made, being able to affect, at this point, thousands of kids and see that kind of return, because seeing a kid grow up, just like a father, I able to see all these kids grow and mature and develop physically, mentally, socially, emotionally. And I got a little bit of goosebumps just talking about it, because it's such a fun process.
I totally get it. It's like I coached, Caden and his friends from the time they were in 7th grade, 7 years old, all the way up to middle school. And then now they're juniors and seniors performing at the highest level. And you look back and go, God, I remember when that kid was terrified to hit. And now it's like, okay, he's all region.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's honestly, I mean, it's not even a monetary aspect to it. Like no one can fulfill that with money for me. You know, being able to see the change and develop of, you know, that kid, like the amount of times I've been proven wrong is it's disgusting at this point, where you see a kid one day and you're like, you know, okay, he wants to go do this. Like, let's just see what happens. And then fast forward 4 years later, he's sitting on top of a, you know, ceremony, and they just won another bowl game, or he won, you know, whatever award for whatever school. It's crazy. Like, and I have so many stories, and that's kind of where everything really transpires, is letting people actually create their own story. And that's part of the reason why it's called Legacy.
Well, tell us a little bit about the process and exactly what you do with these kids. I know, like, a lot of these kids are just coming out of, you know, the high school weight room. I guess it's basic, you know, the football workouts, basketball workouts. Like, what do you do that's specifically different that adds that next dimension to getting these kids to be the best athletes they can be?
I think it's multiple things that actually occur. One is, I'm an extension essentially of, you know, a lot of staffs in a way, because I have to plan around other people and what they're doing at schools. So I have to be willing to listen and to educate myself on what the kids are doing, because they're doing more than what's normal, which is fine. And it's great. But for what we do, you know, at the end of the day, you know, kids are all squatting, benching, deadlifting, etc. You have to find ways to manipulate things that work for each kid. So, you know, like Caden might be doing one thing, you know, Oliver, Brennan, they might be doing something completely different as well, just because I'm trying to fill certain gaps or voids that I need to fill.
Yeah.
And at the same time, and to be fully transparent for everyone, like, kids need to be pushed.
Of course.
There's no doubt in my mind, like, at the end of the day, if you can teach a kid how hard they can actually work and show them how to do it, you're going to have so much success, not only for that kid, but for them the rest of their life.
So it's far beyond just the physical building.
Oh yeah. It's
a lot of mental.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, I might ruffle some feathers with that, but at the end of the day, the last 15 years, it's worked quite well.
But did you die? Are you better?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And you know, it's different. And I've 15 years. I don't think I've ever followed what other people do.
Yeah.
I refuse to at this point.
Well, you've done something clearly different, because you have become the go-to guy around here with a lot of these programs where, you know, I'll hear some of the kids say, yeah, I'm going to go see Bryce. I'm going to go see Bryce. And, like, you're making a major change in their lives. A lot of these kids, I've seen the physical change in the past 2-3 years from working with you. So tell everybody a little bit about, you don't work with just football players, correct?
No, I work every sport. I have, I can't even remember. Well, I have girls that do, you know, tumbling, gymnastics, girls lacrosse, boys lacrosse, baseball, football, soccer, basketball, ice hockey, you name a sport.
So you're coming up with specific programs for whatever sport these kids are doing and what they need specifically to develop.
Yeah. And at the same time, all these kids are so young, you know, they're in my eyes, they're adolescent children when it comes to being in a weight room. And I say that because they have very little experience. That's like me saying I can do real estate sales with, you know, one conversation.
Right.
So for me, it's trying to fill those buckets and make sure kids understand, like, we have to learn all the basics. You have to learn how to crawl. You have to learn how to walk, how to jog, how to run, how to sprint. Same thing with lifting. And with all the sports, it's, you know, there's so many similarities and so many differences. You're trying to figure out what kids need. And a lot of the stuff it comes down to being basic. But at the same time, you can make basic really easy for someone that's new, and you can make basic something really hard. And you have to find the in between. In all reality, and I've grown so much in the last 4 years here, compared to like when I was in Illinois. It took me a lot longer because I was young and probably didn't know everything and when it comes to relationships and really truly how to actually build something.
Yeah.
And to go back to one of your comments of, I've become somewhat of a pillar in my world when it comes to Williamson County for strength and conditioning. A lot of it just comes down to relationships.
Yeah.
And,
just like anything else.
Yep. And I have to, for me, with all the schools I work with, I have to subvert my ego, which is absolutely fine because I have to be an extension of someone else. And it might be, Page, it's more sprinting. Nolensville, I had full control. Centennial, I had full control. But you still have to work with the entire staff. So being able to, sit down and say, hey, what do you guys need? What do the kids need? What does the team need? What's your culture? What are your values? What are your standards, your expectations? Every school is going to be drastically different. And I have to be a chameleon and, be able to fit into each segment.
Well, Nolensville needs about 5 250-pound linemen. So can you put that together before next year, please?
Oh man. But to be honest, it's fun seeing kind of this all unravel for myself. And, really it's the kids kind of tell my story, and it's, through their hard work and dedication and commitment where, they really show what we're doing, but it's been fun to see kind of everything unravel this year with kind of what's happened just in football alone.
Well, that gets me into my next question. So you get to spend a lot of time, say you're from Illinois.
Yep.
So compared to up there, you get to spend a lot of time developing these players. You spend tons of time with them. In your opinion, what makes the sports programs in our area so elite? Because you got Page with state champs, Ravenwood runner-up, Nolensville Centennial had playoff wins. Like just down the board, we have good athletic programs.
Yeah.
What is it that makes this area kind of stand out?
I think, comparing the difference, it's funny because I said this a couple of days ago, just seeing kids outside. Like I went to a field on Sunday and just, went for a walk, and there's, 20 kids playing backyard football. In Illinois, you don't really
like we used to.
Yeah. And I feel like in Illinois, I never really saw that too much. And I think that's one part is like, there's so much freedom here, it seems like, in the sense of like kids are out playing all the time. And maybe it's the weather. Illinois has crappy weather.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is, I think just it's within the culture of Williamson County. I feel like, no matter the school, there's such an emphasis on not only academics, because I know all the schools are very highly rated, but for athletics, whether it's the coaches, ADs, whoever, there's such an emphasis on, giving a good experience. And I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, for me, that's where the difference is, because if you have an emphasis on, giving a kid a good experience, they're more willing to come back and continue to come back. Where if you have a negative experience, that kid's never going to come back.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you look in the sidelines of Ravenwood, Centennial, Nolensville, Page, like there's 75 plus kids. Basketball, like I remember middle school tryouts, some kid was saying there's, 100 kids that try out for baseball. 100 kids for 9 spots. It's crazy, but it just shows that there's a huge emphasis here. And I think it's, kids want to be a part of something. And I think that also helps a lot. And
right.
Parents are willing to, put their kids into sports. And I think that's
I was going to add to that. So, a couple of months ago, we had on mutual friends of ours, Tim Newell and Jason Brown. And
I train both their kids too.
Yes, you do. So we kind of threw that question around, what makes this area have, such elite sports programs. And we kind of narrowed it down to, seems like around here we have top tier coaching. Mm-hmm. And we also have parents that are wanting to invest in that second level of training. training beyond the minimum of just schools, parents that are willing to, hire someone like you
absolutely
to take their student athlete to the next level.
Yeah. And I think and a lot of it's the kids too. And I think that like there's been success before now with kids, Tyrell Dotson from Stendhal. You look at Chris Parsons from Ravenwood. He just had a killer year at Austin P. And, you look at some of the Page kids, just from last year or years before, same thing with all the schools. The Nolensville kid that's at Oklahoma. Can't remember his name.
He slayed Alabama in that first game.
Right. So there's been success. So for me, it's when you start to see other people have that success, and especially kids their own age or maybe a little bit older, obviously depending on what grade they're in, but there's been just a clear regiment that kids have gone to the next level.
Yeah.
And I think that just gives kids a bigger picture to look at, all right, if he can do it, I can 100% do it. And I think that's where I think a lot of the success comes from, because they're seeing what other kids have been able to do, no matter the school they're at. The kid at Franklin's going to Tennessee. Nolensville, there's a couple kids going to play, Oliver and Josh. Page, I think there's 8 kids.
Let me do a shout out for Hicks, because I've coached that kid since he was a little fella. He's one of my favorite kids I've ever worked with. He's going to make a coach happy.
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah.
Just his leadership alone. Great kid.
Just asked him yesterday when we walked in. I was like, all right, when are we going to make the decision here? Come on. I'm still waiting. But I think when kids see that success from other people, and especially their age, it's a proven factor. I can do the same thing.
Yeah.
I might not get to that, Oklahoma level, but I can still go play. I don't care if a kid plays Division 1, 2, 3, NAI, it doesn't matter to me. I've been so lucky with, what I've been able to do and see kids, go to every level, even professional level. And at the end of the day, sports are only going to last so long for kids.
Right.
So if they can use those tools of, being able to work through adversity and, work hard and be disciplined, committed, it's going to carry over to a different part of life.
All right, man. Well, got some questions I kind of want to rip through because I'm just extremely curious. So first one, as a whole, are you seeing whole classes become bigger, faster, stronger than, let's say, 5 years ago? Because I look back at when I played at Brentwood High School in 1999, we went undefeated in the regular season. Our quarterback was bigger than our center. And now, kids I'm seeing out on the field, I'm like, they look like college players to me right now.
Yeah.
So something's in the water. Something's different than when I played.
I mean, I think with any profession, there's always development to be done when it comes to, education, research, tools you can utilize to use. But at the end of the day, you can have every tool in the book, but if, we'll just go off of kids looking bigger and faster and stronger. If a kid's willing to work his ass off, eat what he's supposed to eat, and do more than what other people are, really willing to do, gains will be made. I mean,
yeah.
I remember easy one is Eric Hazard from Page. He's been with me for 2 years. So junior year, he was 205 or 210. Going into senior year, he was 255 pounds.
Jeez.
From a skinny, frail kid, no offense, Eric, sorry, but to an absolute mammoth of a kid at that point.
Yep.
And that's across the board with, all of our kids that have been with us.
So do you think is there any weight to saying supplements, the new sciences and training, or is it just work? Because, I used to crush whole milk all day long, and I would drink a milkshake before bed every single night trying to put weight on, and I still graduated at $155.
I think it's all three of them. Obviously nutrition is going to be the, forefront of it. if a kid's only eating, 2,000 calories, which is what a normal human being is supposed to eat, and we're trying to gain weight, then it's not going to happen. But, if they're putting
it's just a math problem at that point.
Yeah. I'll say, for Caden, Josh, Oliver, they have the bodies where, honestly, go eat a house.
Yeah.
Eat as much as you possibly physically can. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Because you don't eat enough. We're not going to get what you want. Right now, just stuff your face every day. Anytime you see food, grab it, eat it, go.
Yeah.
Now, other kids, it's different. Like if I have a lineman, then obviously I can't do that. They don't have the ability to, really metabolize that fast. They don't have a fast metabolism compared to that. But, a lot of it just is, honestly, it's nutrition and, just honestly the work you're putting in. Like, everyone talks about, obviously everyone can take, creatine and protein. But that's only one part of it. It's called a supplement for a reason. It's supplementing what you're, obviously not getting besides creatine.
Right.
But go eat food. Like go eat chicken, go eat rice, sweet potatoes, and eat as much.
Eat a
as you
lot
want.
of it.
And most kids think they eat a lot, but if you use MyFitnessPal and you can download it for free, you can literally take a scan of the barcode and it'll put it in. But at the end of the day, to answer your question, like it's all three. But you have to, you honestly have to be a little bit crazy in a good way. And in the sense of you have to be willing to do a lot of things.
Right.
And you have to do them at a very, very high rate. And that's not saying kids can't do it. It's clearly they can over the last, 15 years for me, but you have to be willing to be a lot different than, the people around you. You have to walk a different path.
Well, to kind of go into that, what's some of the biggest myths, since you're around a whole bunch of different coaches and parents that have done it a certain way for so many years, what are some of the biggest myths in strength training that you hear from parents and coaches that you're like, that's not accurate?
Oh, the biggest one is, and I get the myth, I do, but parents always bring up kids shouldn't lift. Okay.
That's my next question. At what age do you feel it's appropriate for kids to start lifting?
Man, if you play football, you have a force factor or a momentum factor, however you want to calculate it, or a truck stick calculators, what some people use. You're applying force. You're going to hit a kid. You are producing some kind of, mass behind you in order to knock that kid down. It's not lifting, but you're causing a collision where you need, acceleration force to make that happen. Same thing with swinging a bat. Same thing with, throwing a baseball. You're throwing it, swinging an inanimate object, and you have to, provide velocity behind it. It might not be theoretically lifting, but you're doing, thousands of reps on just one side. And then, you wonder why something might be messed up later. But one of the common myths is kids shouldn't lift at a young age. Science will tell you that is absolutely fine. If it is done correctly in the right fashion.
Done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Because my son got a back injury because he was squatting, at 14, 15 years old. They turned him loose in the weight room and he obviously didn't do it correctly.
And I think that's
had a fracture in his back.
And that's where, for what I do, you have to be willing to make kids understand the technique comes first for everything.
Yeah.
Weight will come, movement will come, the change in movements will come. And you have to get kids to understand it's a process. You can't, I refuse to throw a kid in the fire, say, hey, we're going to squat today. And he's never done it in his life. Well, that's where our bad things are going to happen. That's where, the unfortunate risks are going to happen. And you have to be willing to step in and have that adult conversation with the kid and be like, hey, I know you can probably do it, but I don't feel comfortable putting you under that until we can do X, Y, and Z.
So what are some of the most common injuries you're trying to prevent in high school athletes?
That's a loaded question. I think a lot of it is, I can't prevent anything. And the reason I say that is I can't prevent a non-contact injury essentially, or a contact injury. I can mitigate certain risks. And a lot of it is obviously the biggest ones are knees and shoulders all the time.
Yeah.
And I never want a kid to get injured ever.
I dislocated my left shoulder 7 times and my right shoulder 6 times.
I luckily haven't had that.
And it's one of those, once it happens.
Oh, it's going to continue to happen.
It's going to continue to happen.
And, I got a full knee replacement at 29. And it's, they said it would get better and it obviously didn't. But you definitely want to make sure kids understand, what we're trying to do. Is that's going to be the biggest indicator of if your program's obviously working, is if they're not getting injured. So trying to mitigate certain risks and do things that they might think are really stupid and dumb, hopping over a hurdle and being able to land on one foot and be able to stick it. They probably aren't going to understand the reasoning. But if you can have those conversations hey, we're doing this for ACL prevention, because you need to be able to understand how to actually land correctly, not have your not have your knees cave in, etc. And that starts a little bit of a process for kids to understand. So but to be honest, it's knees, ankles, shoulders.
Yeah.
And obviously concussions are a huge thing too.
So is it hard for you? So how should a multi-sport athlete train differently than, let's say, just a football player? So like Ryan Newell, football, baseball, are you working on certain things during the year, or are there things he shouldn't do, because he is an elite baseball player? How does that work?
I think it's a case-by-case scenario. And the reason I say that is, in Ryan's case, he has football and we have baseball. So we have a 3-month window in between, basically from winter to spring. And for me, it's, what am I able to do with the time I have is one thing. How many times are we coming in? What is he doing outside of that? I know he goes to hit and throw all the time. He's obviously working out for, football when they start that. And it's trying to find, the reality of how much things can we truly do, but really minimize certain risks that, I don't want to take.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can lift in season all the time. I won't say all the time, a couple days out of the week. And that's where I think there's a huge mess around here is kids start the season and they're at that point, they're already peaking. They're at the highest level they are for, I'll say state of readiness, power, strength, development, everything. And once season comes, everything dies down. They stop lifting, they stop sprinting, throwing med balls, whatever it is. And you wonder why by, week 9 or 10, they look slower, they look dead, they look more fatigued. Well, we just trained for 6 months.
Right.
And you just stopped everything. So I think you have to it's
kind of a reverse shock to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to find time, even if it's 30 minutes in season. I told Ryan yesterday, I was come season, you're still expected to lift 2 to 3 times a week. 3 is, probably the maximum, but you have to be in the weight room twice. We have to sprint. We have it might take you 30 minutes, but you have to be for me, you got to be willing to understand when kids can get in. And that's the hardest part is all right, if they can only come once a week, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And but to answer a little bit more, if you're a parent, don't let them stop. Even if it's 1 time a week, don't let them stop in season because you lose everything so fast.
Yeah.
And that's where that's where more risks come in for me is, okay, we could do X, Y, and Z when we started. And now you're 8 weeks in the season and you can't even do anywhere near that. Obviously the workouts will be drastically different, but if you continue to progress, you can still get stronger and faster in season. It just has to be done correctly and, formatted properly based on that kid.
So for someone who's been in the game a long time, you've been around God knows how many coaches, you've seen, how many athletes go to the next level. For your players wanting to play at the next level, which is college ball, what actually matters more to college coaches and recruiters than most people think?
Family.
Family
is a huge one.
Just coming from
just a good family, obviously good support system, honestly raised well, family is a huge part of it because as I don't think a lot of people think this. You go on a visit and your family's there with you, like they're going to talk to them. And if they don't like what, mom or dad would say, that can be a deal breaker too. So I definitely think family is a part of it because they want to see, really who you are, where you come from.
Yeah.
And at the same time, honestly, playing is one part, but the physical presence of you, like everyone, you'll get an eye test.
Of course.
You walk in the door and, you say you're 6'5", but you're really 6'2". Well, you just failed the eye test.
Yeah.
You just lied about 3 inches, which is drastic.
So how much do these coaches put weight on athletic IQ?
I think a lot when they get further in that process of talking with kids, they'll start talking a little bit about football and what they, obviously what they know, intelligence wise about the sport and the position. And obviously a part of that in return is also on the development of that kid when they go to college too. I remember being told,
it's like, would you rather have, a stud that's, dumb as rocks, or a kid that has potential that has an extremely high IQ?
I think it'll always go back to what the staff is willing to do and work with and what they want in their room.
Okay.
I think it'll depend, school by school. They might want just, 2 dudes who can just flat out
just some dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, they might want someone that has the ability to be that person, but their intelligence is just at a different level. I think it really depends.
So just what fits their scheme and their need at the time.
Mm-hmm. And what they're looking for, within that, position schematically, can they fit the mold of, what they do? I think those are probably the biggest two. And then everyone says, one of the biggest things I was told when I coached in college, ACT gets you into school, right? That's like ACT, SAT. That's your foot in the door. Your 40 is a foot in the door. But after that, no one cares.
Yep.
So if you have, a good 40 time, that will definitely help. But at the end of the day, once that's done, they don't care. Can you, like at this point, and it's crazy to think this, kids are signing 1 or 2 year deals. That's usually what the contracts are. So if you're not physically and mentally ready to actually step on the field and practice and play with, 24, 25-year-olds,
yep,
you're going to be in for a very rude awakening because you have to be able to adjust.
And the game has changed so much, which takes me into the last question because I'm pretty excited to get your opinion on this one. If you could change one thing about youth sports and the culture around us, what would it be? Because mine, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what mine is. I despise this transfer rule. I can't stand it. I think it's killing team culture. And that's one reason I love my son's team at Nolensville. They've got 7 or 8 kids that have been together since they were 7 years old. And you can't compete with that as far as chemistry and camaraderie and brotherhood. And now you're seeing the most elite schools just go pick some kid down the road and bring them in.
Yep.
And you can't compete with that. You either do it or you don't. Like, this is not me whining. That's the game now.
Yeah.
However, I cannot stand that.
I think for me, it's going to be honestly, it's probably going to be the success that, people want at the middle school level in middle school sports and travel sports. There's so many people want that success and want it so fast at that age where they, and I have no issue with it. I want kids to have success. So it sounds different, but putting that into perspective when the reality of it is middle school sports are not going to really dictate anything for me.
Correct. There's
still so much more development, whether it's physical, social, or emotional, that's going to end up happening. And I have this happen all the time to me. The best kid that's, a 6th, 7th, 8th grader, a high majority of the time, is usually not the best player when it comes out of high school.
Yep.
And
early bloomers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And there's like everyone puts huge emphasis on that. Oh, he's the best in 6th grade. That's awesome. But I really don't care. Because what happens in the next 6 years? You're either going to be doing the same thing you've done, which is probably nothing, or you're going to be the kid that's willing to change himself completely in those 6 years and develop all the traits that he needs to develop. I mean, my kid at Northwestern is one of those. He was, 100, probably 85, 190 pounds in 8th grade. Good football player. Senior year, he was, probably 265. And now he's he was a walk-on, 2-time captain. He wears the number 1 jersey, which is an award for basically great teammate, leader, captain, etc. And I don't know if he'll get drafted, but he'll at least get undrafted free agent. And he put on 100 plus pounds, and he is massive. They call him the big ragu. He's Italian as it comes. Italian as it comes. But everyone puts that emphasis on the success at such a young age, where I think they get lost in translation of it's
development.
It's such a long map to go down. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves with just youth sports, because that's the first part of the puzzle. Yeah. We still have however many more pieces you want to add to it.
I got one more that aggravates me. So again, this is just the culture. I'm an old school guy. Just respect your opponent, all that stuff. Caden played in one of these 7-on-7 leagues, and just what I saw going, the language and the taunting and the all of it. Oh my God. I'll never, so kids 13, 14 years old is when Caden played. And after the game, he came up to me and goes, "Hey, Dad, what should I say when somebody calls me the N-word?" And I was like, "You say nothing, son.
Yeah,
there is absolutely no response for you."
Yeah, I think it's a great tool to use in the sense of 7-on-7 and those situations. But
the reps are phenomenal.
And I know.
There's a damn circus up there.
Yes. One of my, great friends, professional friends, and great friend outside of the profession. That's like going to practice and just, going through the motions. And if it's done correctly, and this is with any sport and any, really anything, if you have a system, especially for a DB, there are certain turns, certain angles that you're consistently working at. But if it's just a free for all and it's, you're just, of course, not doing anything, then you're not going to get the reps. And that is one of my pet peeves with, 7-on-7 and AAU. What are we trying to learn and develop? Or are we just going outside and just, throwing the ball around and getting reps? Yeah. And it's the same thing with anything. If, in real estate, you go read X, Y, and Z for sales. Well, just reading it is, okay, you're reading it. How do I apply those aspects, and how do I, put that in my relationships? How do I, nurture that process? It's the same thing in sports. Yeah. Why am I doing it? What is it going to do for me? How am I going to translate to my game? Is it actually geared towards the actual position I'm going into? And that's just another long listed question of what things need to change on certain parts of sports.
Well, brother, man, I ask every guest this, so I want to get your opinion. What do you love most about living in Middle Tennessee?
Honestly, the first exposure I ever had of that was just how genuine people here are compared to, Illinois. The amount of just walking down the street, the amount of people that will say hi.
We get that answer
crazy.
A lot. Yeah.
And the second part is the communities around each school are so phenomenal that it makes my, what I do absolutely wonderful, because you see the culture within each school and each program and the communities that, surround the programs. and you see how it affects all the kids. And that was like, those are my, I'd say, top two things that just really hit me really fast right away. And third is honestly, it's a, I can go cruise on back roads and go see, however many, houses I want and, the scenery behind it. But I'd say those are my top three. I mean, the big one is just the community that surrounds this entire place. It's such a different feel. I mean, I got goosebumps going on, that I was used to. And it's very similar to where I'm from in Illinois, but it's just at a completely different level. It's, every family I've been able to interact with has been absolutely wonderful. Kids have been great, very respectful, very well mannered, well put together kids in the sense of just, being good people. And I think the world is missing a lot of that. And I think they need to be exposed to more of Middle Tennessee and, how kids are raised and what goes on in the community around here.
That's awesome, brother. That's an awesome response. So, Bryce, man, I appreciate you coming, and we're going to put all your information on the show notes. But if anybody is interested in starting training with you, what do those packages look like, and how can they get more information? You
can go to our website, legacyatcarbon.com. And obviously just hit get started. You can fill out that waiver. And then from there, first class is free. It's on me. That way you can try it and see if I'm crazy or not. We'll let you decide. And after that, it's, our packages we have monthly ones. So 8 or 12 or unlimited. And then we have bigger ones, 10, 20, 30, and you can schedule as you see fit within your schedule.
Awesome, brother. So if any of y'all looking to get some advanced training for your sons or daughters, Bryce is fantastic. We definitely trust him with our own kids. So, all right, brother, you got 7 months to put 15 pounds on Caden and take him from second team all region to first. So
I'm in. Just another day in the office for me.
All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. God bless.